Hi, Mindy. Welcome to Tuesday Tea.
Hey, good to see you. It's a pleasure being on this side of Tuesday Tea for a change.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming to talk about your area of expertise, which is the amazing job that you do with marketing. But first, if you can please share with our audience a little bit about your experience and how you got connected with Touchstone.
Sure. So I've been Touchstone's director of marketing for nearly 2 years, but I've worn lots of hats throughout my career. I used to teach high school English. I managed advocacy campaigns. I built marketing strategies for perinatal quality collaboratives. And one thing that all of those, like the through line for all of those, is storytelling, and that kind of continues in what I do now. So now I'm running my art studio and writing, and I also work with mental health professionals and organizations like Touchstone to elevate their online presence.
I love that. I get so much feedback from people who are like seeing all of the content that you're putting out. Um, I'm wondering what solo practitioners should be thinking about as we're building our images.
That's a great question. So sometimes, especially when it's just you, it's easy to skip over the foundational work of fleshing out your image or your brand. Um, but whether you have a private practice and it's just you, or you work at a larger clinic, you have a brand, and your brand is so much more than just your logo. It's the impression you leave on your audience. So yes, it's how folks interact with your website and your content, but it's also your unique background and your offerings, and your clients' experiences, and the impact your work has on the greater mental health community. So I could easily go off on that tangent for this entire time, talking about branding, but I'll just say this. Taking the time to build your brand foundation informs everything else that you put out into the world, on behalf of your practice, and it defines who your niche is and who you want to reach. And so, being able to pinpoint that ideal audience, you're able to more consciously speak directly to them, which makes your messaging much more likely to resonate than if you were to cast too wide of a net. So I like to think of it as like a quality over quantity type of situation. So, like, I'd much rather have an audience of a few hundred loyal followers who engage with and find meaning in the content, and is much more likely to invest in your services eventually and become clients, than to have millions of followers who might not be all that invested in your messaging.
So I want the right audience. Right. That's
Yeah. Like, while it seems great in theory, having like 3-4 million folks following you, I know, right? Like, it sounds like yay, I've reached all of these people, but a lot of the times, it's not always the folks that you are actually trying to reach. And so, really defining that niche and speaking directly to that is a better route to go.
I love that. It occurs to me that in our sphere, a lot of therapists are using social media. Any
Mhm.
cautions out there for if and how therapists are using social media? Also, I feel like this concentric circle where we are private citizens, but also when we're putting our business out there, we are more public, and how you would caution us to do that.
Yes. So that's a great question. Even though you put a lot of yourself into your brand, especially if you're a business of one, it feels like you're one and the same. You and your brand are separate. And there's definitely a balance to strike between showing up authentically and building trust with your audience and sharing content that's not all that relevant to your practice on your business accounts. So even though you have a really cute video from your kid's dance recital, or the burger you had for lunch looks as good as it tastes, unless you're able to tie these posts back to your brand values and your marketing goals, it's probably better to post those to your personal account. Or if you can put like a mental health spin on it or something, maybe in your Instagram stories where it's not as permanent because it's gone after 24 hours. But if you do have a personal account, know that current and potential clients are most likely going to Google you and find your content. So if you have a public Facebook page and they Google your name, it's going to pop up. If you aren't comfortable sharing your personal life with clients or what you would like to put on your personal page, then I would strongly suggest setting your account to private, or I've also seen folks use an alias. But as kind of like a general rule of thumb, just following the same ethical guidelines that you would in your practice. So never directly or indirectly disclosing client information, even in peer-based Facebook groups where it may feel safer to do so. And definitely avoiding engaging with clients on social because it can blur the lines of your professional relationship. And I think this one is a little bit harder to do. It's kind of one of those things that you find in hindsight, right? But being aware of how your content could potentially be misinterpreted, and considering the lasting impact that could have on your practice. And so if it would only make sense to a small group of folks or anything like that, that's something to keep in mind, and making sure you're only sharing content that's accurate and evidence-based to make sure that you're remaining a credible source of information, and to avoid misleading your audience at all. And then I'd say the last piece of that is, unfortunately, trolls on the internet are inevitable. So I really strongly suggest developing a strategic plan for navigating any negativity online in advance, so that you are able to better protect your own mental health as well as your online presence, because you already know how you're going to deal with it before it happens.
Yeah, that's such good points, because people get very spicy with their language and just saying things that aren't necessarily kind if they know that you can't identify them or kind of talk back.
Yeah, it's amazing how much a little bit of anonymity behind a screen can empower folks to say some pretty awful things. And I see bots and stuff too, where like I see this on Touchstone often, and we end up hiding and deleting them because I think that's the thing that folks forget is it is your page. You have the power to delete something that's not relevant. So occasionally we get like people in the comments advertising, like, I don't know, like I think psychedelics has been the one that keeps coming up is, oh, go to this Instagram account because this worked for me, when it's a post about like a course that we're offering or something. And so you are completely empowered to delete those things or hide those things. And if it doesn't serve you, it's doesn't need to be there.
One of the things that I wanted to touch base with you about, I know that this is kind of an ongoing conversation that we've been having is the core values piece of it. And what does it look like when we're doing things like talking about holidays and
Sure.
happenings that we should be aware of, and the balance between doing something on a particular day versus espousing the same values all the time?
Yes. So, putting your own spin on holidays and awareness days and awareness months, it's a simple way to hop onto social trends and be part of a larger online conversation. But the key is keeping your messaging relevant and meaningful to your brand values. So, like you don't want your whole account to just be awareness days content, right? You don't need to post on like National Cheese Day and every other random day out there that there is. When in doubt, think to yourself about how what you're posting adds value for your ideal audience. Is it inspiring or entertaining or educational? As always, your content both serves your business goals and your ideal audience. And
So can
so,
you
yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, can you speak a little bit about that awesome clip, that the little clip that you did with the Ted Lasso?
Sure. Um, well, everyone on the Touchstone team is big Ted Lasso fans, and when that scene, I think it was. I haven't watched that season in a while. Was that when Colin came out to the team?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I have to rewatch it now. But it it resonated so much in how they handled it and on the show with Touchstone values, and so it became a really easy meme for us to hop on, because this is something that we've talked about extensively in our team meetings. But whether it makes sense to post for all of Pride Month or all of Black History Month, and truthfully, if we dedicated our feed to all of these different niche awareness months, we would post nothing else. And what's more useful for our audience and what serves our branding more is integrating that content throughout the year. So, like Chuck did a really beautiful voice recording on language use around like birth givers and using mother for all birth giving people. And yes, we post that in June, but we also post it in December or February, and really making sure that we're holding true to those things that we value so much throughout the year, instead of just checking the box off in June. And so um there's a lot of thought and intention behind it. It's not just like throwing a rainbow banner on our Facebook page and checking it off of our box. It's really trying to dig a little bit deeper and show our values and what we know our community is interested in.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you a question, and then so I'll tell you a little story about the question. So I would want to know like what types of tips and tricks you have for therapist websites, and how does that matter given all of the different platforms that people have their social media on? But I will kind of side note say that I completely revamped my entire website just based on hearing everything you've said for the last 2 years about kind of what is helpful and what works.
I'm so excited to see your new website. Yay! That's very exciting. I'm excited. That'll be good.
Thank you.
Um, I love this question because there's a lot of different spaces to be in, right? And while I strongly recommend building a social media presence, and this is where the majority of internet users spend their time, your website is one of the few digital spaces where you aren't competing for your audience's attention. And so it's important to make what lives on your website count. So on your website, you have the opportunity to tell your story. You can talk about who you are, what you do, who you serve, and the impact that your work has. And so whether you're building a new website or you're updating one that already exists, the main advice I can give is centering the user's experience. And so that can mean a lot of different things, right? So that includes accessibility considerations like high contrast text and legible fonts, and things like functionality. So like loading speeds and intuitive navigation. And it's also making sure that it's a pleasant experience to visit your website. So there's content there that resonates with the audience demographic that you're trying to reach. And if they come there looking for answers to their questions, they're able to find what they're looking for, and they feel represented by the imagery that you use. I know that's a big one that we focus on at Touchstone, is very specifically looking for diverse images and making sure that it's not just whatever is easiest to grab on stock photo websites. And then I think the biggest piece of it is, does your audience have an opportunity to get to know you and your practice enough to take that next step and set up a consultation, right? It sounds like a lot, and that could be its own Tuesday tea, right? But as I mentioned before, like doing that foundational brand building, that answers a lot of the questions for you and sets up how to make a bigger impact with your website.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know that a lot of people are kind of doing it themselves on these platforms that where there are some tools that have made it easier over time, but it's so hard without that professional lens
For
to know all
sure.
the right things to do.
Oh God, I think I've told you before. I'll have to show you what a train wreck my first website was. Like it's still out in the world because I no longer use that email and I have no idea what the password is to hide my shameful website. But it's a really good before to use.
I bet I have a couple of those myself.
Oh my goodness.
One of the things that I see coming up often in therapist conversations on social media is the therapist or the therapy practice that gets a bad review. Um, and I think that those happen for a number of reasons. But that the most important thing is, how does one deal with that?
Yeah, that's it's definitely a tough thing to navigate because reviews can really make or break your practice's reputation, right? But so can how you respond to them. So whether you receive a positive or a negative review, it's important to respond to them briefly and courteously. Like I think it was not related to anyone's practice, but there was a trampoline park that my son's friend had a birthday party at, and I looked at the reviews online, and the way that the owner responded was almost worse than the reviews because it was combative and
Yikes.
it it did not feel very professional. So it's especially important to respond to negative reviews quickly and with curiosity and compassion. to show you genuinely care about what this person's experience was with your services, and that you're committed to making things right. And so that not only builds goodwill with the person who left the review, but with anyone who reads it. I don't know. I pay attention to how companies handle that kind of thing. I don't know if that's just the lens from what I do for work, but I'm always impressed when I see someone handle it really smoothly. So in your response, encouraging the reviewer to contact you privately to sort things out, to avoid any drama in the comments. And so it can be taken care of offline in a more private way. That would be my best advice.
Well, it's funny that you should mention that because I was actually purchasing a couple of things yesterday, and I do read the reviews. And I saw a comment that it wasn't the worst comment, but it wasn't the best comment. It would just said, this, I really did like this product, but, after a couple of weeks, this particular part just wouldn't work for me. And the reach out from the store was, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Here's a place that you can email and reach out, and we'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
happy to help you resolve the problem.
Yeah, see, that makes a world of difference. Like if I'm reading the reviews on something and it's like, oh, we couldn't get a hold of customer service, and so now I'm stuck with this product. Like I'm less inclined to buy that. Or like the example I had mentioned before, I really don't want to take my kid back there. And like it says a lot about the person responding and how they run their business. Like if they're coming with excuses or in a combative way, people are more likely to glean from that that's how they run their business.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that you have a special treat for us today, is you have some
Mhm.
tools that practitioners should be aware of, might want to take a look at.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this could be its own Tuesday tea again too, right? But I I'll share a few that I use daily. And if folks want to reach out, I'm happy to share links and whatnot. But yeah, as I mentioned, I could geek out about these forever. Notion is my number one. I'm sure anyone who talks to me regularly is sick of hearing about Notion. But I organize my entire life in Notion, but it's specifically a great tool for keeping everything from your brand assets. So like different versions of your logo and headshots and what fonts you use. In an organized place. And then it's also great for planning your content. Um, Along those lines, I also use Plan That, and this is a content scheduler. It's ideal for Instagram users specifically, but it also schedules content for most other mainstream platforms. It doesn't have all of the bells and whistles that a scheduler like Hootsuite does, but it comes at a lot lower cost than Hootsuite as well. And so another cool thing about Plan That is if you are really strapped for content, and it's hit or miss if it's great, but every month they have like content ideas. And so if you're really struggling, there's ideas that could spark something else there too. They've added some AI features and stuff too, but I haven't played around too much with the ones on there. But Canva, which is the next one on our list.
Yeah, that is, I think, so far one of my favorite.
Canva, I love Canva. Like they're yeah, okay. So what I love about it is that it's an accessible program for designers who want a shortcut, but it's also great for non-designers. There's tons of graphics and templates to choose from so that you're never guessing what the right size image is for any given platform. So you don't get like text weirdly cut off or something. They've also got brand kits. So it's easy to transform all of the brand assets that you have into content that looks and feels like your brand. So like with a click of a button, you can take a template that's like in neon, and if your colors are like green and blue, it automatically changes it, and you can adjust it from there. But they're always adding new capabilities to this like powerhouse of a tool. And so whether you're using the free version or the premium version, you'll find what you need there. And yeah, like some of their AI tools have really come a long way since when they were first implemented. So I think one of my favorite ones that I use all the time is like just a one-click background remover for photos, and I love this for like headshots and stuff. I used it for my kids' birthday invitations. Like it like from my phone while he was in karate.
That's amazing.
Like it's a great tool. And then Descript, which is a little bit newer. I started using this year. Well, newer to me. It's not entirely new, but so this is a video editor that has the capability to edit your videos via transcript. So it transcribes your video when you upload it, and then the transcription correlates to the video footage and the audio. So it makes video editing as easy as like editing a Word document. And some of my favorite features in Descript are its ability to remove filler words, so it can take out all of the ums and ahs and shorten long pauses. And you can also copy and paste different sections of the video to different spots. And then
StreamYard. We are on StreamYard.
We are. I was just going to say, this is so much more than just a recording platform, which is what we initially were looking for. But it allows us to live stream or pre-record content and schedule it to all of your other platforms. And so it's made Tuesday Teas run so much more smoothly for us. We use it for our instructors to record promo content. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's really made a huge difference.
And I think the one thing that just because I happen to have learned StreamYard for Tuesday Tea is that it is so simple.
Yeah. It's so user-friendly. I love Descript, but there's a bit of a learning curve to like figuring out the layout. But StreamYard, I feel like it's just so intuitive. Like as soon as we got it, it was, oh, we're doing it. It works. That's awesome. It's made a world of difference in our whole video process.
Definitely.
Let's see, the next couple, they're not like necessary, but since I do use them every day, I thought I would mention them. So Emojipedia is exactly what it sounds like. It's an encyclopedia of searchable emojis. And so you don't have to scroll through all of them when you're looking for one to add to a caption or something. Bitly, this one is great for shortening long URLs. So you can customize it, and it makes it easier so that like if you're putting a link in your Facebook post or something, you don't have like this like 10-line spammy looking URL. It just makes it real tiny and concise. And then the last one on this list is Link. And so there's lots of great link and bio tools out there. But this one has quickly become my favorite. Its intended use is as a digital business card. And that can be shared via like URL or a QR code. I know when we exhibit at conferences, we have like this little like Touchstone QR code stand, and so people can boop, and it takes them right to this landing page. But yeah, I've found that it makes a really great bio link because it's formatted for mobile viewing. It's really easy to customize, and you can add like accordion fold and links, and you can include images. So it's something a little bit more interesting than just link, 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 and very easily editable. But yeah, there's tons and tons, and I could go on forever. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm happy to share links with anyone who's interested in learning more.
I appreciate you bringing these examples because it's just amazing uh, the information, the programs that are out there. So I have been able to integrate a couple of these.
Oh, how
Um,
fun. Yeah, I love nerding out about this kind of stuff. So
yeah, I'm
if there's
sure.
ever, yeah, if there's ever a thing that you're like, wow, I wish there was a tool for this, I probably know of one. So let me know.
I'm sure our audience will love to start peeking into some of these.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, like if anyone is interested in any of the resources I mentioned, I'm happy to shoot you an email. Or if you have any questions about any of it, I'm happy to answer questions and stuff too, because
Wonderful.
democratization of knowledge and all.
Thank you so much, Mindy, for sharing your wisdom with us. I really appreciate it. Um, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.